The woman in the river. I swear to you, everything I'm about to tell you happened just as I remember it. To this day, the people of Oloron village still speak of what happened to Adewale and the river woman. Adewale was a proud young fisherman, full of laughter and mischief. He had lived by the Omiaga River all his life, watching his father and grandfather cast their nets before him. But unlike the old men, Adewale had little patience for traditions. He believed in his strength, in his skill, and not in the superstitions of old women and spirit tales told by the elders at dusk. One evening, as we sat around the village square, the conversation turned to the river's mystery. Everyone knew the rule. No one must call upon the woman in the river. She was a spirit, a being older than the village itself, and she granted wishes at a great cost. My grandmother, Mama Tenny, always said that those who mocked her or disrespected the river would regret it. But Adewale, as usual, scoffed. You people believe in shadows and stories, he said, shaking his head. If she is real, let her come to me. I will ask her for a great catch so I can be the richest fisherman in Olorun. The elders frowned. A cold wind blew through the village, rattling the palm trees, but Adewale only laughed and walked away. That night the moon was high and the river gleamed like polished metal. Adewale took his canoe and paddled to the deepest part, humming to himself. When he reached the place where the water was still as glass, he did something no sane man had ever done. He called to her. Woman of the river, he shouted, his voice echoing over the dark water. If you are real, appear to me. Grant me fortune and fish. For a long time, there was silence. Only the sound of frogs and the distant hoot of an owl. Then, just as Adewale prepared to laugh again, the water around his canoe rippled. A mist rose from the river, thick and sweet-smelling, like crushed hibiscus flowers. And then she emerged. She was beautiful. Her skin was the color of moonlight, her hair long and black like the river's depths. She wore a wrapper of shimmering blue, and when she smiled, Adewale forgot how to breathe. You have called me, she said, a voice smooth as the current. What do you seek? Adewale, bold as ever, grinned. I want to be the greatest fisherman in Olorun. I want more fish than anyone, so I can be rich and respected. The woman tilted her head, considering his request. Then she lifted her hand and the river glowed. Your wish is granted, she said. Tomorrow, cast your net at dawn. You will have more fish than you can carry. But remember this, Adewale, everything comes at a price. The mist swirled, the water churned, and before he could speak again, she was gone. Adewale returned to the village, his heart pounding with excitement. He barely slept, dreaming of the fortune that awaited him. True to her word, when he cast his net the next morning, the river exploded with fish, fat, silver-bodied creatures, more than he had ever seen in his life. His canoe nearly tipped over with the weight. The villagers gasped and whispered. Some praised him, but the elders watched with weary eyes. For 3 days, Adewale's fortune grew. He sold fish in neighboring villages, his pockets filled with cowries and coins. But on the 4th day, things changed. He woke before dawn, feeling something strange. His throat was dry, his body heavy. When he stepped outside, the villagers gasped and backed away. His feet were wet, not from the morning dew, but from water seeping out of his skin. Confused, he wiped his arms, but the water did not stop. It trickled from his pores, soaking his clothes, dripping onto the ground. No matter how much he dried himself, the water returned. By noon, he was shivering, his breath ragged. He drank and drank, but nothing quenched his thirst. He ran to the river, plunging his hands into the cool depths, but the water only clung to him tighter, like a second skin. By evening, Adewale was desperate. He ran to the elders, begging for help. Mama Tenny sighed, shaking her head. You called her Adewale. You asked for her gift, but you did not ask the price. Terror filled his eyes. What must I do? Return to her, she said. Only she can release you. But beware, spirits do not forgive easily. The villagers watched as Adewale, shaking and drenched, stumbled back to the river. The moon hung low, silver against the dark sky. He waded in, chest deep, shivering as the water embraced him. Please, he called. Great one, forgive me. Take back your gift. The river was silent. Then the mist returned, curling like fingers around him. The woman rose from its depths, her expression unreadable. Adewale, she murmured, you wish to be the greatest fisherman. You have taken from my waters, and now the river has claimed you. Please, I was foolish. Have mercy. She tilted her head. Mercy? The river does not grant mercy, only balance. But I will grant you one kindness. You will never be thirsty again. With that, she placed a hand on his forehead. The mist thickened, the water churned, and before the villagers' eyes, Adewale was gone. The river was still once more. Some say he drowned that night, that his body was never found because the spirits took him. Others say if you listen closely in the dead of night, you can hear his voice in the river's song, calling out for forgiveness. But no one dares to call upon the woman in the river again. And so, the people of Olorun remember. We remember Adewale, the fisherman who asked too much of the river and paid the price.